All right, guys, I am officially back from vacation. A lot of you were probably sitting here wondering where I went because it's been about over a week and there's been no new videos on this channel. Some of you probably thought I disappeared after the week 1 loss. That was not the case. Simply was just on vacation, and I am glad to be back. And I just got done watching the Packers versus Colts game in full. So in this video, brought to you by BetUS, I'm going to give my instant thoughts and reactions to this Packers victory, getting their first win on the season versus the Colts 16-10. So we're going to go over all my takeaways from this game. I have a whole list of notes for the offense, defense, special teams, and whatnot. And man, this was a very, very impressive game. When anyone questions Matt LaFleur and his ability to coach, just show them this game. I mean, backs against the wall, an inexperienced backup you just traded for, and I thought this was schemed perfectly for the Packers offense to go out there and win a football game against the Colts. And now they're 1-1. And Jordan Love very well could return this week. Hopefully we get some better updates this week for him to return against the Titans. I mean, if you simply just win, a game or two with a backup, you're keeping yourself in the race. And I know it's still so early in the NFL season, but if the Packers fell to 0-2 here, they'd be even farther against the wall, backs against the wall. So this was an awesome victory by the Green Bay Packers. I'm excited to dive down into it. I'm also going to release my PFF video right after this. I know you guys have been waiting for that as well. So right after this, be on the lookout for that. And apologies if I sound a little bit different. Obviously, coming back from Europe, it's very easy to get sick in the airport, and I think about every person on that plane sounded sick, so I'm kind of right there with them, but no problem. Ready to dive down into this game review. Quickly, before we do so, want to give a massive shout out to this video sponsor, BetUS, and they're offering a 150% deposit match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000, and that's with code YouTube150. The details are down in the description below. When we look at BetUS right now, we are still seeing some disrespect to the Green Bay Packers. They're not favored this week, week 3, against the Tennessee Titans, and maybe this tells you more of a sign of what Vegas thinks about Jordan Love's availability, because if Jordan Love was available for this game, or it was thought that he was going to be available for this game, I don't think there'd be any way the Packers weren't favored. But even though what we saw this week, that coaching masterpiece from Matt LaFleur, and a good game against the Colts, who aren't the best football team, they're still not favored. The Green Bay Packers are +3, or if you want them on the money line, they're +138, which I'm going to do. I did it last week. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to place a $50 bet to win an additional $69 here. You guys can either tail my bet or check out the lines as the week goes on. Check out the player props later this week, all on BetUS, the best sports book. Guys, go check it out. 150% deposit match on your first 3 deposits is an unreal deal, and that's with code YouTube150. All right, so now diving into my instant thoughts and reactions to this week 2 victory, 16-10 Green Bay Packers with their home opener against the Colts. Heading into this game, obviously the headline is no Jordan Love. Like, he was questionable most of the week, then downgraded to doubtful, but I think all of us kind of understood that, yeah, Jordan Love's not going to play in this game. Like, in my opinion, this injury is a 2 to 6 week injury, but I think it's more so on the earlier side. Like, he could miss this week against the Titans, but I think he could very well be back against the Vikings, and there's still a chance he could come back for the Titans. But back to this game, I think we all understood that it's going to be a Malik Willis quarterback situation, like, for this game. How can you win with an inexperienced, per se, quarterback that you just traded for? How can you do that? And before this game even happened, my thought was, hey, you got to establish the run game. You have to ground and pound against a Colts defense that isn't the best at stopping the run. And man, the Packers did just that. And when I say this was a coaching masterpiece, I truly mean it. Watching this game for the first time, all the exquisite motions, pistol, orbit motions, lead block motions. I mean, there was so much going on in the backfield. It was a massive issue for this Colts front 7 to really just diagnose what was happening, where the ball was going. There's misdirection left, misdirection right, with Dontavian Wicks in the backfield, Bo Melton, Jaden Reed in the backfield, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave in motion. You even had, I saw a play where Tay Wicks motioned into like a fullback H-back role and had a lead block. I mean, there was so much going on in the backfield that It was so hard to diagnose for the Indianapolis Colts defense, and that's why the Packers ran the football so damn well. When you look at the stats, I mean, this was what we expected from Josh Jacobs when the Packers signed him. A workhorse-style running back that you could hand the ball to 30 times, and I believe he joins now since 2000. Just Ryan Grant and Amon Green, who's running backs who got 30 carries in a game for the Green Bay Packers. Crazy to say that during the whole duration of Aaron Jones, not once did he get 30 carries, and that was kind of the problem. Like, week in, week out, we're like, just give Aaron Jones the football. And they did that here with Josh Jacobs. 32 carries, 151 yards. I mean, and this guy ate up the Colts defense, and they really didn't do much to stop him. Early in the second half, a little bit. He got stopped a little bit. The Colts defense was starting to figure it out a bit, but the Packers, in the end, still won in the running game. Malik Willis also with some designed quarterback runs, some very interesting ones, but also some extended plays where he took a scramble for a first down. In my opinion, Malik Willis showed a lot of pocket presence, more so like a veteran quarterback. And yeah, he's been in the league for a couple of years and has some starts under his belt, but I didn't expect him to go out there and show so much prowess in the pocket, and he really did. He had 6 carries for 41 yards. In terms of Malik Willis passing, he didn't wow anyone, but you didn't need him to. He made the throws when he needed to, and the Packers were planning to run the ball over and over and over again, make it third and manageable, and rarely did they get to third and long, and when they did, yes, some of them they had to end up punting, but other ones they ended up gaining a first down or getting a touchdown to Dontavian Wicks. And Malik Willis was extremely proficient. I mean, 12 of 14, 122 yards, a touchdown, a quarterback rating of 126.8. Matt LaFleur made it very easy. If it was going to be a throw, it was a quick 3-step drop, find your first read, and he's probably going to be open because he's schemed open. And that was the case. Really only once did he throw a ball that was like, okay, the receiver has to make an excellent play, and he did, and that was Romeo Doubs up the right sideline on a go route where he just came back and basically stole the ball off the defender's head. I mean, Romeo Doubs has just been great so far this season. Malik Willis made the throws when he needed to and got it done. Simply got it done, and Matt LaFleur made it very, very easy for him, and that was a big thing heading into this game. Is it going to be easy for Malik Willis? You don't, obviously, for any quarterback's sake, want them in third and long. That is a recipe for disaster, getting them off their rhythm. You mainly want to establish the run and create second and short, third and short. And that's exactly what the Packers did with ease against this Colts defense. I mean, the run blocking was outstanding in this game. And that's something I've been able to say for the Packers offense in a decent bit. I mean, they had pulling guards, pulling tackles on end arounds with Zach Tom leading the way, or Sean Ryan 15 yards downfield making lead blocks for Josh Jacobs. It was a masterpiece. And honestly, it was a joy to watch because it felt a little bit different than what we're used to seeing from a Matt LaFleur offense because it was catered around having a backup quarterback in, and it was awesome. I mean, everything was executed so well, in my opinion. Yeah, there was plays here and there that didn't work, but the majority definitely did. Now, there was still some issues on offense, of course. Some penalties. There was a couple holding penalties. There was a couple ineligible man downfield penalties, I believe both on Josh Myers, where they were attempting to run screens, and Josh Myers was already like 5 yards down the field, so that's got to get cleaned up. But again, the reffing crew kind of throwing the flag at every chance they could, similarly to last week. Some of those penalties thrown, I don't necessarily agree with, but the refs didn't change the course of the game too much like they did there in week 1. We saw some Marshawn Lloyd action, which was awesome. I believe he left the game with an injury. Yeah, I just checked it real quick, and he left the game with an ankle injury. So hopefully we get an update tomorrow with the first injury report, if he's practicing or not. He just can't catch a break right now. Marshawn Lloyd keeps having setback after setback, but I liked what I saw from him. On the stat sheet, it shows 6 carries, 15 yards, and a poor average, but he also had a 20-yard run, which was a questionable hold. I believe it was by Rasheed Walker's. He showed a lot of burst, which is, what you expected from Marshawn Lloyd. So it's nice to see him get some carries. Bo Melton had a couple carries. Jaden Reed, again, used out of the backfield so much. Like, more than I have ever seen. It just reminded me of Randall Cobb out of the backfield. And we had Jaden Reed in the pistol. We had Jaden Reed in the pony formation with Jacobs on the other side of Malik Willis. And they were doing counters. They were doing misdirections with receivers. I mean, it was just a joy to watch. Like, I haven't seen that style of running game, like, ever, honestly. And it was so fun to watch, and it just destroyed the Colts. As for receiving, we didn't need to pass the ball much. So there's not much standouts in terms of receivers. Obviously, Romeo Doubs, 3 catches, 62 yards, and Dontavian Wicks finally caught his footing. Last week couldn't really catch a ball. This week, 3 for 26 and then that touchdown. And when I said Malik Willis made the plays when he needed to, that throw to Tay Wicks on the cheat motion to a quick out route, it was covered very well by Kenny Moore, and it was a perfect throw. Like a foot more inside, and it might have gone for a pick six for Kenny Moore. It's a perfect throw on that out route to Wicks. Wicks caught it, got right up the sideline for the touchdown. So nice to see Tay Wicks bounce back after a poor performance last week. I had people already in my comments coming for me saying, oh, Tay Wicks isn't good. Okay, calm down. He's fine. Tay Wicks is still going to be a great receiver for this team. Tucker Kraft, 2 for 16. I was absolutely impressed with Tucker Kraft. Still getting more snaps than Luke Musgrave. It was a massive difference week 1. It was still a difference week 2, which we'll go over in my PFF video. But right now, it seems like Tucker Kraft is tight end number 1 based on what the Packers want to do. He's more of their inline tight end that can be a lead blocker. And when the Packers moved on from Mercedes Lewis, you're kind of like, okay, who's going to replace that lead blocking tight end type of role? And man, Tucker Kraft has picked up right where Mercedes Lewis left off. I saw a comparison to Heath Miller on Twitter for him, and I pretty much was like, yeah, that's perfect. And if he can become Heath Miller, man, we have a solid ball player in that tight end. And Tucker Kraft was very impressive to me in this game, from blocking, catching, and just all around. Tucker Kraft, excellent game. Jaden Reed, 2 catches, 9 yards. Musgrave had a catch, and Marshawn Lloyd had a catch as well. Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball, and after last week, you're sitting here going, okay, they just let up 34 points with a new defensive coordinator. You're not going to win many games if you let up 34 points. But it was also against a very, very good Eagles offense. And when you look at the Colts offense, it's kind of a poor man's Eagles offense. Not as great weapons, a mobile quarterback, great running back in Jonathan Taylor, which is really all they got going in this game. But man, I think Hafley had an excellent scheme, and he flustered Anthony Richardson early and often with different types of disguise coverages, different types of pressures, different types of personnels. And Anthony Richardson, although didn't have a great game for himself, like he was off the mark a few times and some receivers dropped the ball a couple times, he was flustered. He was flustered a lot during this game, and I think that was due to this Packers defensive scheme. You know, he finished 17 of 34, so only completed 50% of his passes, had 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. You know, 2 interceptions mainly, the third one on that last Hail Mary attempt, but still, the Packers flustered him, and Xavier McKinney, another interception. I mean, I think the Packers already have 5 interceptions through 2 games. They had 7 all of last season. Like, the difference so far just through 2 weeks is insane of how aggressive this Packers defense is playing, and they're able to create turnovers. I mean, Anthony Richardson, 41.8 quarterback rating. Now, where the Colts did succeed, and it started to heat up later as this game went on, is Jonathan Taylor, and he's a great running back. Like, you don't expect to completely shut him down, and considering the Packers were leading the entire game, it kind of made the Colts pass more than maybe they wanted to. And Jonathan Taylor, you know, only 12 carries, but for 103 and 8.6 average. Like, if the Colts had the lead at any point in this game, maybe they go down and win this game just by simply running the football to Jonathan Taylor, but they couldn't because they had to go down, and a lot of times were down by 2 scores, so they had to pass the football to try to get back into this game. Richardson, 4 for 37, so held him in check running the football. Receivers, Alec Pierce was the leader, 5 for 56. Jonathan Taylor, 2 for 32. A.D. Mitchell, 1 for 30. It was only really that one deep wheel route to A.D. Mitchell was really the only deep shot that the Colts completed. And we saw last week, I think it was like 3 plays, Anthony Richardson had 50-plus yard completions. And that was a worry going into this game. You got to stop the deep ball. You got to stop the deep shots from this Colts offense. And I think the Packers did an excellent job at that. And really, the longest reception in this game was that A.D. Mitchell 30-yard wheel route. It was just a great design play, and that's it. So I'm very impressed with this Packers defense in this game, and I have a couple standouts from this game. Eric Wilson, definitely one of them. There were multiple times where I saw him like in the backfield, playing the run very well. You know, on that third down, I think it was a power option to the left where Anthony Richardson either could have taken off running or pitched out to Trey Sermon. Eric Wilson covered both of them or defended both of them. He contained Anthony Richardson to make him pitch and then still got out to Trey Sermon. And that was a big third down play there. So, you know, also with Eric Wilson, the interception, I mean, awesome zone coverage, kind of sank into that deep slant there. Anthony Richardson probably should have threw the quick out to A.D. Mitchell, ended up throwing it to Pittman, and Eric Wilson was right there, made a really nice hands catch with Pittman over his back. I mean, I was very impressed with Eric Wilson. We saw more Edgerrin Cooper, not as a amazing game as week 1 versus the Eagles, but a lot better game overall by these linebackers. Still a little bit of a struggle for Quay Walker, you know, again, had a dropped interception, and I think they're just trying to really figure out what they want to do fully with Quay Walker. And I don't know if it's necessarily, if he should be the Mike at this point. I think maybe that could be Isaiah McDuffie, and then you kind of put Quay Walker at the strong or the weak and just kind of move him around and just keep him downhill. Don't make him read too much as the Mike, because it seems like that's kind of his issue right now. He's kind of trying to read the run fits and missing a lot of the times, or not finding the correct lanes, or over pursuing, under pursuing. I think if you just played him downhill 100% of the time, you'd see a lot more production from Quay Walker. Other than that, I mean, on the defense, some other key notes. They were rotating Javon Bullard and Evan Williams kind of with each other. I think you should have both of those guys on the field. And Javon Bullard deserves to be in the slot, guys. Like I was saying this all offseason, it's going to come to a time where Javon Bullard's going to take over for Keyshawn Nixon in the slot. And it's week 2, week 3, and I feel like it already should happen, because the times he was in the slot, he looked a lot better than Keyshawn Nixon. And it's another point to be made is you want both of these guys on the field. You don't just want one or the other. Both of these guys deserve to be on the field. And if that means taking Keyshawn Nixon off, I'm personally okay with it. I think Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, better ball players than Keyshawn Nixon. And Nixon makes plays here and there, definitely, but I think these guys are just so talented, and they both deserve to be on the field. Another massive standout was Devontae Wyatt. I think this might have been his best game as a Green Bay Packer. I mean, he was excellent against Quentin Nelson, one of the best guards in the NFL. He also had an edge pressure where I believe he sacked Anthony Richardson, our only sack on the day. It was a stunt where Lucas Van Ness went inside. Devontae Wyatt went outside, had the shoulder dip, and got the edge as a defensive tackle, which was perfect. Like, you don't see that often, and the guy, is a great pass rusher, so it was great to see that. Very, very impressed with Devontae Wyatt. Also saw more Carrington Valentine in this game. I believe he out-snapped Eric Stokes. Maybe they were looking for more of a aggressive press style type of defense, so they wanted Jair and Carrington. I like the Packers rotating personnel based on scheme and not just sticking with the same personnel week in, week out like Joe Barry did. Play to what you're trying to stop, right? If you want to be more aggressive and force the action quicker, obviously you want more aggressive style press cornerbacks, and I think Carrington Valentine is that over someone like Eric Stokes. So nice to see him. He made a couple plays out there. Overall, the front was getting decent pressure. Obviously, it's hard to contain Anthony Richardson, who can just simply scramble out of the pocket or climb the pocket and basically extend a play. But I saw a couple exquisite, front packages. One on 3rd and long. I think it was a 3rd and 15. You had Lucas Van Ness, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, and Enagbari as your 4 down linemen. I was like, that was beautiful. And I want to see more of that on 3rd and long. Just get your pass rushers out there and just say, hey, go get the quarterback. Another important note that I wrote down here, Carl Brooks over Colby Wooden. Colby Wooden was a healthy scratch. Obviously, you can only have 46 active out of your 53, so some, a group of players are going to be inactive even if they're healthy. So that's an interesting one there. I'm all for it. I mean, guys know I'm huge on Carl Brooks. Kind of surprised that they didn't want to also have Colby Wooden just in case, because, the Colts want to run the football, which they still did. So interesting there to see Colby Wooden as a healthy scratch. But yeah, overall, I was very impressed with this defense. And if you're going to let up only 10 points, you're going to win some football games. So great bounce back, great adjustment by Jeff Hafley. That was a big thing with Joe Barry. 1 week you'd see the flaws and you'd just go into next week and there wouldn't be much adjusted. I feel like it was a completely different style type of defense, as it should be, because you shouldn't be running too much man against the Eagles, which I think they ran too much. But then you come into week 2 against the Colts, where you probably should be running man as long as you can still contain Anthony Richardson. And they did that. He didn't go away from it because it didn't work well in week 1, because it was the Eagles offense that continuously beats man coverage on defense. He still went back to his roots and said, hey, this is a completely different game. This is a completely different offense. We have to run this style of defense to stop them, and we will. And that's exactly what happened. So great to see Jeff Hafley, adjust here and not just kind of fall back to the basics, right? Where you see a lot of defensive coordinators do that. Joe Barry did that a lot. So really nice game and game plan by Jeff Hafley, and a nice job by these players executing. There was not many big plays. There's a lot of times they made great stops on crucial downs. We had players flying around, making nice tackles. There wasn't too many missed tackles. It was just an overall much better game by this defense than we saw last week. And then a quick note for special teams, Braden Narvison, although he missed one out from 45, he also had makes from 46, 42, and 34. Guys, I think we have our kicker. Sure, missed last week and a miss this week. Those will get ironed out. But I think he's our kicker to stay for the whole year and for the future. I really like what I see from Braden Narvison. He shows that, confidence, that prowess that we haven't had in a kicker since Mason Crosby. So I'm really excited that we finally have a kicker, in my opinion. The misses will get ironed out, and he's making PATs, where obviously Carlson missed a lot last year. But man, we definitely do have a punter. I mean, Daniel Whelan what an excellent game. Had multiple punts with inside the 10-yard line. I mean, they really didn't have much of it. I don't think they even returned a punt if I'm remembering correctly. But man, we definitely have a punter in Daniel Whelan, and it makes sense why the Packers had no competition for him this offseason. He's just been great. So that's my instant thoughts and reactions to this game. Again, watching it late. So again, apologize that this is all late. I just got back in last night from a 6-hour flight. I was time difference, jet lagged a little bit. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this all tomorrow morning because that just makes more sense. And then, like I said, I'll have my PFF video right after this, so be on the lookout for that. And guys, remember to go check out BetUS. Get a 150% deposit match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. But I'll catch you on the next one. Go down, click subscribe if you haven't already to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers. We are back. Tennessee Titans this week. Let's go to 2-1. Hopefully Jordan Love can return. But if not, I feel comfortable in Matt LaFleur's coachability, being able to go out there and put together a scheme to win this football game. But I appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.